Hi everyone, I'm Annissa and this is Will FM's Project Showcase. In this show, we talk with founders and projects in the crypto art and NFT space, otherwise known as non-fungible tokens. My guests today are Krisha Skad and Jason Skad, otherwise known as Vandal. I Want My NFT is a 3 one-hour documentary series that tracks the pioneering journey of two generations of artists, mother and son, as they follow and weave together the threads of a brand new art movement, crypto art and NFTs. Please enjoy. Hey guys, thank you so much for coming on. It's wonderful because this is probably the first time they've ever seen a mother and son duo coming into this space with an NFT project. So I'm super excited for this chat. But just to start us off, I'd love to hear a little bit about both of your backgrounds and to talk a little bit about why you started this project.
All right, since Mother's Day just passed here, Mother's first.
Oh, yay. More for once. No, just joking. My background is in art. I went to the Ontario College of Art a long time ago, and I mostly did video art. I also did sound and some film and photography and installation and performance art, but most of my stuff was video art. And I was going to school, and when I went to the Ontario College of Art, Jason was 4 or 5 years old. So he was in a lot of my video art, and we kind of, I went through school, and I would give Jason these presents because the one thing I always wanted to do was music. So I'd give him all these presents of like a sequencer or, all these different keyboards, all these different kinds of things. I tried to send him to guitar lessons and piano lessons, but he never wanted to do that. But he did end up doing music in the end. So that's basically my story. After Jason grew up and moved out of the house, I started working in a documentary film company as an editor, and then I started directing for them, and then I started my own company and producing my own documentary films in Canada, which is where I live. So that's basically my story in a nutshell.
You're being a bit modest there, Mom. What about your awards? Come on, tell them about your awards.
Yes, give us the details.
When I was, my video art's been shown all over the world. I never got to go with it. And I didn't actually get paid very much. Every time it was shown at a festival and stuff, I got paid $50, which is actually why I started making documentaries, because I couldn't really survive on, government grants and things like that. And some of the documentaries I worked on won Emmys and Gemini Awards. Gemini's the Canadian equivalent to the American Emmys. And the ones I also got nominated for some Gemini Awards and things like that. So, yeah.
That is fantastic. It's super interesting to hear about your story and as well your journey. I would love to dig deep even more about that to see how both of you inspired each other throughout this project and how your journey has taken to where you are today. But before that, let's hear about Vandal. What is your story, Vandal?
I think my mom gave a lot of it away, the early part of it. We come from Toronto, which is probably a separate country in terms of what it's like in Canada. It's completely different than any other place, I would say, especially growing up, in the 80s and into the 90s there. With that, I was surrounded by people from all over the world and connecting to various cultures and music and subcultures in music in the city. And that kind of, led me through my personal journey in terms of how I approached my production, music making, and the type of songs that I would write. That was kind of late 80s, early 90s hip hop. And then working and collaborating with various artists from across the city. And then, the internet comes along and then that opens things up to the world. And, along with that, my mom didn't really mention it, but we did a lot of traveling when I was younger. more like backpacking kind of thing, and ended up, going to South America, to Colombia, driving down to Mexico and Guatemala from Toronto, and spending like over 4 months backpacking through East Africa, when I was 13. And all these experiences kind of, opened me up to wanting to sort of explore the world, as well as see how I could, put that together with my music. And that kind of led me on the journey to do a lot more traveling. And I spent the last, 15 years or so out in Southeast Asia, mostly living in Malaysia, and doing music there, as well as various like things that I've been doing here in the metaverse and stuff, with events and community building and creating platforms for performing artists and that kind of thing. And now I'm back here in Canada for a little while longer, and it's been kind of amazing just to go from talking about this idea about crypto art. I know we're going to get into sort of how it came together for us, but to actually be here and working with my mom on this has been challenging, to say the least. But at the same time, it's been really rewarding, and being able to learn a lot about myself and my relationship with my mom, and how all that works. And it's I won't spoil it by answering all your questions now, but yeah. There you go.
No, absolutely. I mean, it was hilarious just seeing you shaking your head when your mom said that, putting you through those music classes. But I mean, it got you to where you are today, which is fantastic. I mean, and even when you talked about your global trotting experience, right? I think that's very important when you're making a docuseries, because you need to have that global perspective. And a lot of people, I feel like, are kind of missing that right now, especially during the pandemic times, when you're really just looking at a screen and you really in this your own little bubble. Right, you're not really aware of your surroundings because you're just so kind of desensitized by it in a way. So it's great that you guys are bringing that to light. That being said, I would love for you guys to kind of give us a brief introduction to what is actually I Want My NFT, and how did you guys come up with the name?
All right, I'll jump in here, and then Mom, you can chime in if there's anything that I miss or you want to add to it. Well, for one, I'm an 80s kid, so I grew up around MTV, and as you can see by the logo, there were various artists in the crypto space who sort of did various renditions of this logo, but this particular piece was done by Pixelitist. And actually, when I saw it, I thought it was really dope. It minus the lettering on the top where it says "I want my." It was actually just that NFT, non-fungible, in the MTV style. But yeah, when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, this is cool. Grab this," And then later on, as like we were talking in terms of doing this documentary, we had the discussion ongoing since last year, probably, when was it, Mom? Around July or something. It was before I came back to Canada.
It was last year around this time, I think.
Yeah, and I had just sort of been diving deeper with DAO Records and NFTs, and having been reintroduced to NFTs through crypto art. My mom being an artist, I thought this was something that would be an amazing outlet for her to get in on and to experiment with. And then being also a documentary filmmaker, it was like, hey, why don't we do a documentary about the space, and have that share our journey in a way through doing this and discovering more and more about it as it progresses, because it's changed so much since we started. Mom, do you want to add some more stuff in there?
Well, we wanted to get sort of all different aspects, including people from the space, and aspects like from the artist, from collectors, from platforms, and from advocates and critics of the space. And we first started off thinking we were going to just, interview about 12 people. And now it's turned into, we've interviewed 45 people. Wow. And it's like really kind of overwhelming because I have these stacks of transcripts that I'm going through and stuff like that. And right now we're basically doing it all ourselves because we're kind of fundraising through the platform itself. And, that's one of the reasons why we created the Access Pass, so we could hire more people to help us, because it's going pretty slowly considering we have 45 people now. And plus there's our journey and our stuff that we're doing together, and how we're working together and our thoughts on this stuff. And then also we added for more visuals, we added we're doing with the artists in the film, and there's 12 of them, 13 including me. 10 of them have agreed to do this collaboration. So there's 11 of us doing a collaboration for async art, and I'm filming the actual discussions and the process, so that's all part of the film as well, the whole collaboration and seeing how artists, because that's one of the really most amazing aspects of this space, I think, is collaborating. Like, musicians do it more often, but artists usually just work on their own. And to be making a piece of art with like 10 other amazing artists, like basically I picked the artists whose artwork I really liked a lot. And, some of the artists are Matt Kane, Sparrow, Coldy, Giselle X, Barbara Bazina, Lawrence Lee, Bart Ianson. Now I can't even remember. Angie Taylor. So they're all in the film and working together to make this collaboration. And I'm like really honored to be working with all these other artists, like in our space for our launch party, which is happening at 1:00 this afternoon Pacific time. I have like all of their artwork up, and then my little piece in the corner, and I'm like, oh, these guys are so amazing. And it's just been really great to be talking about art with people like all the time. So I really like that aspect. I kind of went off on a tangent. Sorry about that.
No, we love tangents, and that's a beautiful answer, I feel like. And this is a question that I would love to know how you guys take this. But if you guys had to describe your project in one word, what would it be and why?
Oh, I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Oh, yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so I guess if we can describe the project in...
Oops, I think Vandal froze there. No worries. Let me message him.
He said he's refreshing.
It's refreshing. There we go. I don't know if you can hear me now.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. My computer with everything open is going crazy. But yeah, I was saying that if I had to describe the film in one word, I would probably use family. Because not only like, obviously myself and my mom, but the idea of the crypto art community and the NFT community as sort of one big family as well. That's kind of what it feels like. And I think a lot of people in the space also feel that. So yes, family.
Oh, that's a beautiful way to put it as well. I feel like this whole crypto space is really this big network that we've really never been able to achieve before. And I've always said that, there's so many different ways to really participate in NFTs. The levels of participation are really unprecedented in this space in comparison to any other crypto platform. And so it's beautiful that you guys are really bringing that picture out and showing people that beauty of a family. And so my next question would be really for Krista. So how much did you knew about the NFT space before, or how did you view the crypto and NFT space before making the documentary? And how has the documentary changed your perspective, if any, after?
Okay, so I found out about crypto, period, in 2017 from my son, Jason. And I was all excited, and it was like September of 2017, and I gave him $200 to invest, and then it like tripled, and I was like, oh. So then I went out basically in December of 2017 and bought a whole bunch of Bitcoin and invested in all these ICOs and everything, and then the crypto winter happened. But anyway, during that time, Jason was playing around with CryptoKitties, and I was like, well, this is really like, I didn't see it, right? Like I didn't see the potential. I was like, oh, this is like a boys kind of game collecting kind of thing. You know, like I think boys usually like to collect more like comics and baseball cards and hockey cards and all that kind of stuff. So I just kind of didn't really see that much in it. And then I guess it was probably the sort of winter or late 2019, Jason told me, oh, you know, I just found this space and I think you'd really like it. And I had a look and I was like, this is really amazing, because, you know, like I did video art in the 80s and early 90s, and nobody, you know, saw it as art. It was like, well, this isn't art. You can't hang it on your wall. You can't, you know, place a statue somewhere. So I never really thought about selling my video art. And then when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, like I can make art again, like the kind of art that I like making. And so that's when I started just fooling around. And, you know, I got on Rarible when it first started, and I made my own website, and, you know, I started, you know, getting ready, you know, to apply to different things and stuff like that. So it's really opened my eyes that they're like, that I feel like after interviewing all these people and everything, I feel like this is the next, it's an art movement. It's like, it's you know, like expressionism or realism or surrealism or whatever. It's a very brand new art movement. And you can see in some ways that the traditional art market is starting to, you know, with the sale of things on Christie's and Sotheby's and things like that, that I'm really excited because I feel like I'm part of a movement, and being able to interview these people, you know, from all different, you know, whales and, you know, all different walks of life, including whale shark, for example, it's really opened my eyes to all the possibilities and things like that. So that's our first, that's our first thing. That's when we started, when Jason came in August. That was our first video that we kind of made. So that's it for what I have to say, I guess.
Well, yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I feel like you guys really took your time doing this, right? I mean, you guys are doing the right way, coming in the right time, and really taking your time to really understand this new landscape and you know, seeing what you can do with it, which is great. I think you guys are doing the right way and really pushing this movement forward, which is amazing. And I would love to kind of understand more about your process. As we're looking at right now is one of your promotional video and your very first ones as well. And I saw that you mentioned earlier about your process, right? It's interviews, it's transcripts, it's creating access pass. Tell us more about that. And this is more of an open question to the both of you.
Sure. I guess, you know, because the film is about NFTs and, you know, my experience with developing DAO records and the use of NFTs for various delivery, like content delivery. We were, you know, looking at how we can use NFTs to be a part of the film, and how we can kind of, you know, create a use case around the film as to show the potential of NFTs, right? And that kind of led us along the path of thinking, okay, well, why don't we, instead of looking at doing fundraising the traditional way, which would be like going to a broadcaster and locking in your broadcaster, so then you can go get your funding from various other outlets who obviously require you to have a broadcaster first. It's very convoluted and you know, annoying in a lot of ways, you know. And I thought, well, you know, we've done it with DAO Records previously with our Tune Pass for the pop-up, So why don't we try to do the same things with the film? And I think that that's something that we were really trying to look at how we could do it effectively and in what way, and also sort of avoid the pitfalls and the mistakes that have been made in the past, and do something different and exciting and new. And I know that obviously an access pass isn't a new concept, but the way that we're doing it, I think, is is a lot of fun, and it's not just about the film itself. It's about what we want want it to evolve into. Being a use case, we hope to inspire other people who are making films to use NFTs as a way to fundraise for their films, or to add various like exciting elements and components for people to A, collect, and B, support. Right. So that's, one of the things from my perspective of that we wanted to achieve through this. And, taking our time with the film, well, not according to my mom, it's needed to be done like months ago, but, it's coordinating with artists. It's a lot of, scheduling is another thing, and the various challenges of getting people, and then the constant evolution of the space. And we should get this person in, we should talk to this person, and it just kept spiraling. Like, I know, my mom was saying that we started out with a handful of people at first, and then we've got like over 40 people interviewed, and we could go on and on because there's so many cool things that are happening. And I know that we didn't include everybody, and we can't include everybody as much as we would like to, unless everybody buys our access passes, and we can get the film out, and then we can start the Flicks fund and have more people contribute to the space and create content, and then we can do that. But yeah, I hope that kind of answers the question.
Well, the Flicks fund is like, I don't think you touched on this part, that we're creating a DAO, and the Flicks is the center of that. And basically what we're trying to do is start this community of filmmakers, video artists, music video creators, any kind of moving visual creator, to be able to use, we want to create this fund so that they can be able to make their own projects. So we can create this community where they have access to knowledge and to maybe financial resources and things like that, where they can, like get a leg up to make their own things. So that's kind of the legacy we would like to leave after doing this. Like, it's not just about making the film, it's creating a community and giving the opportunity to other people to do the same thing. We're kind of just like, as one of our interviewees said, bushwhacking through the space. So
it definitely feels like that sometimes. It does. I mean, it's amazing, because I love that your guys' mission is kind of driving this ecosystem to success by your project and by your token and by your DAO, which essentially gives everyone a voice. One thing that I really wanted to kind of understand more about is about your drop, right? I mean, drops are essentially the bread and butter when it comes to NFTs in this space. And so how did you guys decide on the number of mints you guys going to do, the different tiers, or even, how did you guys decide on the mechanisms, and even creating a white paper for a project as well?
Yeah, that was, it's been a process, right? Like, right. The first white paper, I think what we did was we modeled the first white paper around the whale paper. The whale's white paper, and what Whale Shark had done with his vault, and how he created the token, and basically used the value of the vault to define the value of the token, and then built the community out around that. And I think that was sort of one of the things that we were trying to look at early on in terms of how to set things up. We did work with Bradley and Syncus over at Roll to do our social token for this, for the Flicks token. And, rather than kind of putting it out there and, giving it away, for example, we wanted to really kind of figure out how we could add value to the token without sort of diluting the value. And And we thought, okay, so how do we do that? How do we create a value for the token? Well, we need to have some funds backing the film. So obviously, like what you do in making a film is you create your budget and you have all your various expenses, and then you have to see, okay, how much do we need to raise? And then we use sort of that as a basis of the valuation for the token. And we haven't launched the token yet officially, right? I think I can say it here first as a sneak peek. The 25 people who purchased our pre-sale for the access pass will be receiving an airdrop of Flix. And also, if you're at the event, there is a way to get an airdrop as well. So I'm not going to tell you how yet, or else I'll be giving it away and people are going to be jumping in there. But
there's
you can
two
use
ways.
your imagination. But yeah, so the NFTs and why we chose to use NFTs sort of as an access pass was I think it's a great collectible, and also B, we can track all the people who are supporting so that we can then add the various other elements that we need to it. And what we wanted to do was have that represent a piece of the film. So we decided to do 100 NFTs at various tiers, which is what we've announced now, the pre-sale and the launch party, which is today. And then after that, it'll be available to anybody to pick up. But the 100, if all of them sell, then they would be sort of, those NFTs would receive an actual clip of the film once it's done. So we would then divide the film into 100 segments so that they could be actually collected by the people holding the Access Pass NFTs. And of course, there are other goodies that kind of go along with that. Like we're doing a lucky draw for people who got in on the pre-sale. So we've got a physical item, which is a framed version of the Access Pass that will be sent to the lucky draw winner from the 25 pre-sale participants. And also, what else are we doing with NFTs? A poster. So we're going to be having the poster. So anybody who attends the event and fills the guest book out can get a poster of the event, and that will be an NFT form. And I think NFTs are a really amazing way to just kind of add value to a project as well as generate sort of funding for it. That kind of outlines the process, I think, around the NFT.
I think one thing that Jason forgot is the fact that when we first started out, we were making one feature film, and now we've decided to make 3 one-hour shows that sort of go together, but you can watch them all at the same time, just because we had too many people. And also at the launch party, we're premiering our promo, which has all of the 45 people in it. And we are minting that promo and giving it to all of the participants in the film. And we kind of had this question about, because we're giving it to people and there's the other artists who are in it, all of their artwork is in it. And we were trying to figure out how to try to not be able to monetize for somebody to sell that after they got it. And so basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to have 100% royalties to discourage anybody from actually selling it, because that's the only thing we could think of. We wanted to give something to somebody, but we didn't want them to sell it on. It's it's like a memento, and so
we don't think they'll sell it though.
No,
because it's kind of like if you're at a track meet and you come in like second place or something, let's just say, you get a medal for it, you're not going to turn around and sell your medal usually not, unless you're in a I've heard Olympic athletes selling their gold medals before, mainly because they've gone broke or something. But these are all amazing artists. I think that they're doing okay. So I think they won't sell.
It was just to some people had some concerns, I guess, and it was just to make sure that their concerns were addressed. That's the main reason.
So OpenSea, if you're listening, we need to set the royalties at 100%. Thank you very much.
I love it. Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, there's a huge market for trading, of course, but I mean, these, like you said, are metals, and so I'm sure people are going to keep them close to their heart, just as even trophy, and to keep at their homes, and to just remind themselves of launch as well. And I love that you included a little bit of a wink, wink, blink, 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 and nudge, nudge into this interview. Unexpected, but thank you so much. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm definitely going to be there for the launch later as well. And even with the white paper, you guys put a lot of effort and time into creating this. Like it's blatant to see, right? It's very obvious. Even finding the right resources and advice from like very credible people in this space. And so, how many revisions of this white paper did you guys actually make?
This is, I believe, the third.
Wow.
Yeah. I've having sort of been through the ICO days of 2017, 2018, I've read a lot of white papers. So, I'm not that guy, so to say. Like, I'm more of like on the creative side. So approaching doing a white paper, it's not going to be super technical. It's if you read it, hopefully it's not too technical for you to have a look at. And there are certain things that I think will change along the way, like what we've added in. And I don't think we really discussed this yet, but those who purchase access passes will be able to farm them. So this is something that, we're setting up at the moment. Like, just when we wanted to do this, and I know everybody out there can relate, the past couple of days, gas has been insane.
Yes.
and we were wanting to do all of the NFTs already, fully minted and farmable first, but then it would have we would probably blown the budget that we would have got from our fundraising effort doing so, with 500 gas, way, it was just ridiculous. So we decided to have sort of more of these, the NFTs that we have now are, I wouldn't call them placeholders, but they represent what you will get. So once the farmable NFTs are ready, they'll be airdropped to all people holding this access pass, and then they can participate in the farming and the liquidity pool around Flex. And these are all things that we're hoping to iron out shortly without too much expense in gas. So it's looking good though.
Yeah. I know.
I was just going to say, Jason's I would look over the white paper and add little images, all those images I added, but he's the one that's kind of in charge of doing the white paper, and I'm kind of in charge of herding the artists. Basically, I call them like cats, trying to get them together to, push this collaboration forward and stuff like that. So that's basically a full-time job right there. So yeah, herding artists is what I like to call it.
I love it. It's basically just taking both of your strengths and putting them together, and it's worked out beautifully, as you can see as well. And I think that you presented it amazingly here as well. You're having these NFTs with integrated functionality with these access passes and these drops and these tokenomics within it, which is it really kind of displays the power of NFTs really. And so we're all for it. But and especially with Vandal, what you've done before, even with DAO Records, you really took, and like how Krista said, right? It's like herding these artists together and putting them together for them to bootstrap themselves on your platform to basically get their name out there. And so it's amazing to see those the same ethos being transferred in your second project as well, which I think the community very much appreciates. But I guess yes.
No, yeah, I was going to say thanks.
Yeah. Of course, yeah. But I mean, one thing that I'd love to know as well, I remember that before you mentioned that, there were some issues or there may be some issues, especially in collaboration processes. But I would love to know, how do you guys inspire each other, and what was the outcome?
I have to say, I would listen, usually this happens just before I want to go to sleep. Jason has some brilliant idea that will take about an hour or so to explain, and it's and actually they're pretty amazing, and it kind of reminded me of when he was little, because it would be, I would be walking him to daycare or something, and he'd start telling me he had this idea for a window washing thing where he made drawings and like how I think the person had suction cups that they stuck onto the window. Anyway, it kind of reminded me of when he was little, and like he still has those amazing ideas now, that he comes up with some pretty amazing things. Like I think if I would have done this documentary myself, we wouldn't be having farming or like even an access pass, because that those are all of Jason's ideas, and he's been working with communities since he was a teenager, and starting helping other people, like constantly helping other people. So that's what he's good at. So
yeah, I was saying there at the beginning, it's all about patience, and I think if I was younger trying to do this with my mom, I probably would have given up already, to be honest. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to the dynamics of relationships with parents or even siblings, and in terms of actually doing things together or getting stuff done or accomplishing something. Like you might see sort of the smiley, laughy, giggly side of us now here, but it does get pretty intense sometimes, and we go back and forth. But I figure like I'm mature enough now at my age to not let any of that kind of deter us from the path forward, and kind of at least from my perspective. I don't know about my mom there, but
no, I guess I agree with that. It's also really interesting for me, and I actually have never said this to anybody before, but if anybody who is a mother understands this, that you always see your child as a kid, like even though your kid is like has more gray hair than you do now, you still see them as your kid, right? And that better and more because you're the parent. But I've actually, through this process, especially because Jason is here right now, and mainly because of the whole COVID thing, he had to leave the country where he was living in. But I've kind of like now see him as this separate entity, like that he's not just my kid, but he has a mind of his own, and he knows what he's talking about, and he knows what he's doing, instead of just, oh yeah, you're just my kid, and I know better because I'm the mom. But I don't feel that way anymore. So this was a really great experience for me to learn that, and to understand that you can have a child who's now an adult and is on the same level as you, instead of being, down there as your child.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's exactly why I love this documentary, right? It's that not every parent and son has the opportunity to join forces to build something together, especially something that both share the same values and passion for and vision for as well, right? I mean, a lot of times when projects, a lot of them don't share the same visions and values, but in this case, it seems very much aligned. And so I think that's very, very rare, and very, very rare to find in this space. So congratulations for that. And thank you for reviewing that and sharing that with us as well. That's very insightful, and it's a revelation. And I can't believe that was I can't believe that was revealed in this interview. I love this. I love this a lot. Yeah, but I guess my next question would be to, in terms of, I guess, in regards to like, interacting with so many artists. In the beginning, you guys were only going to interview a handful, but then now there's like 40 plus artists that you guys interviewed. What was the most shocking discovery you guys found while filming this documentary about NFTs and artists?
Well, they're not all artists, just so that right. That there's collectors and platforms and advocates, like Art Gnome, for example. So yeah, there's like I said, there's only 13 artists per se. But what was the most revealing thing? It was interesting for me to kind of understand collectors more and where they come from. And so that was interesting. And like my favorite part actually is interviewing the artists because of learning about them, learning about their past, learning at the process, and everybody's just been so open. So that's my thing. But
yeah, I would say the enthusiasm from all of the people we talked to about the project, and that they were happy that we were doing this. I think that was, sometimes I don't think about it really. Sometimes I'm just like, yeah, this is what I do. This is what we do, and hearing it from the people we interviewed, knowing that, what we're trying to do or what we're doing is something that they feel strongly about and feel is needed, and are happy that we're doing this, like that someone is taking on the responsibilities of documenting what's happening in this space. And, a lot has changed since our first interview with Magmaster, actually. And since then, a lot of developments in the space have happened. And then thus, of course, us adapting and adjusting our strategy and the film, and moving from 1 part to 3 parts and all of that. So it was just really kind of exciting for me to hear the positive feedback, and that just kind of pushed us more to get to this point where we are now.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And even with this article, you guys featured a lot of big names in this space. We would love to get some name drops on a few of the artists, platforms, even collectors that you guys have featured, just so that we can get an idea or a feel of what is to come in the film.
Well, okay, so instead of giving it away now, if you're up later on, or even if you can't make it later on, wherever you are in the world, when you get up in the morning or whatever, we'll have our new promo video up and available for people to watch, and it will be in our Flix Theater in Crypto Voxels. But we'll be airing the new promo, which shows everybody who's in the film. So that way you'll be able to see them as well, and you'll get it like all in one lump.
Super excited for that, and I definitely will be checking that. I'm just going to be refreshing my page the whole time. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the process of creating the project, right? I mean, and I know that you guys mentioned transcripts and things like that, and I would love to kind of understand, how long does this project actually take, and what was the process like?
So my mom is going to pull out a binder right now, and she's going to show you a binder of,
wow.
Okay, so there's one binder, and I think there's another binder. And those are the transcripts, and I don't think they're even all of the transcripts, because she's got the collaboration with the artists for Async that they're working on as well. But yeah, there's thankfully the technology has advanced to the point where you don't need to have a person go through everything and write down all of the thing to transcribe everything. There's an AI that you pay a little bit of money and it does it for you, so we save time that way. But yeah, it's a long process, and I think this is getting the behind the scenes look, which I think those who are watching this or listening today, to know what goes into producing a film, and all the various sort of pre and post production things that are needed to be done. I'm just going to hand it over to my mom, because that's what she's been doing for the longest time, so she can kind of elaborate on that.
Well, I've sort of been following the questions on the side, and hopefully we can answer more of them. But one of the questions was, what kind of camera did you use? Well, we basically use Zoom on the computer for the interviews, and when we do our own stuff, we're just using our smartphones. So those are the cameras that we used. Sometimes when we interviewed somebody, the connection wasn't that good, or they had a bad camera, and there's not, it's all going to be part of the film, because there's nothing we can do about, especially in COVID. I mean, I would have loved to have traveled to meet everybody we interviewed, from Russia to Argentina to Europe to the States. We have people from all over from Japan. We have people from all over the world. So it would have been great. Usually when you make a documentary, you have a travel budget. So then you go to the places and you interview the people. But, obviously there was no travel. So we just did the next best thing, which is using Zoom for the interviews and stuff like that. And
yeah, sorry. I was going to say it really reflects the space in general at the moment, right? Because a lot of people are connecting from different parts of the world and connecting virtually, and virtual environments like CryptoVoxels. Like we're huge fans of CryptoVoxels, and we do talk to Ben Nolan from CryptoVoxels, just to add that in there. But yeah, like. These virtual spaces and sort of the idea of how communities gather and congregate, and the potential future of collaborative processes and working processes through virtual spaces. I think that the fact that we weren't able to travel is actually allowed us to be a lot quicker with getting the film together. No, she shakes her head, but I think so, because travel does take a lot of time up and budget, but it allows us to kind of showcase the native environment of the space in a lot of ways, because people are using Zoom to have the conversations. They are using virtual worlds to gather and experience things, and they are using NFTs and cryptocurrency. So it all just kind of fits into one, and I think is a good fit.
And also the difference is, like Jason touched on this earlier, like when you make a documentary film, particular here in Canada, the first thing you need to do is get a broadcaster or a distributor, and then you got to like run around and find money. And usually after about a year of doing that, you can start making your film. But with us, we started making the film anyway, even though we didn't have any money. And when Jason's saying it's faster, to me it's slower, because like we're basically the producers, and then we're both directors, and then I'm editing as well. We did hire one other person right now to help with the editing, but like in the documentary film world, you have a production manager, and you have like all these different roles that people have. And right now we're doing all of these roles. And that's why, to me, it feels like it's slower, because we're doing everything and there's just two of us. And, and like I said before, I would never have been able to, do a white paper and the access pass and the farming and all that kind of stuff, because I'd still be, trying to herd the cats and do the logging. And I mean, Jason's saying, well, yeah, it's easier. Like, it is great that we had this AI to do the transcripts, but I still have to like read through all of them and then highlight everything. And, what am I going to use? And how, to me, like making a documentary is like a puzzle. You just move the parts around, you create little units and you move the parts around to create this thing. So even though we're doing 3 parts, at the very beginning, I've got to imagine all 3 of those things together and create a story with all 3, even though I'm only going to be putting out the first, once I have the sort of arc and the story, then I can just work on the first part. And the first part, hopefully, in the video you just showed, it said spring of 2021. Well, we've already moved that to the summer of 2021. Mm-hmm. And really it's the end of the summer of 2021 that we're hoping the first part will be finished, because, once we start getting some help, but once we can be able to afford to pay people to help us, things will go a lot faster.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's why we're here, not necessarily why we're here, but, like why we're having this Access Pass launch, and, why we want to kind of reward the community as well for an opportunity to have a piece, have a moment of the film as an NFT and their contribution. And of course, you get an Access Pass, and you get an associate producer credit on the film as well, and a lot of cool stuff. And I just like, in a way, because my side of things are, not on the editing and putting together the flow like my mom was just talking about. So there's not much I can help with her there, which is why, we want to try and raise enough funding so that we can bring more people in to help my mom more than anything. Because I think my duties in terms of managing the minting and the farming side and just kind of, the social token and putting the other pieces together is not as much work as what my mom has to do. And of course we have to live our lives. There are dogs that need to be walked, every day, and they require attention, and we can't just like ignore them and other things, life stuff. So
Cooking dinner, that kind of thing.
like we need someone to cook dinner for us, Mom. Can we do that?
Does anybody want to come and stay with us and cook us dinner and stuff like that? It's really nice here. It's very beautiful.
Looking for roommates. That's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, you guys did this all by yourselves, right? I mean, when it comes to PR, marketing, sourcing, logging, tokenomics, building CV buildings, and herding cats, which Krista has coined, and I love that term. And I hope you don't mind if I spread this term throughout the space as well.
We got it from Matthew, actually.
Wow.
Herding cats was what they described the whip.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And yeah, I mean, even looking at you guys, like the voxels building that you guys built, it's stunning. And I think that people are going to have a lot of fun today at 1 p.m. PST. Yeah, but guys, thank you so much for answering my questions. I would love to give the floor a chance to kind of have their questions answered as well, so then we can move on to the community questions. But one of the questions here is, and I think this is to Vandal as well, but with you guys actually, being around for the ICO craze and being an investor during it, what did you apply from that experience into token or governance for this project?
That's a really good question. Mainly because, I'm, as an artist, we tend not to be sort of that financially minded. Not all artists, obviously, but my experience in learning about finance and that was around the ICO, and around crypto and really sort of paying more attention to economics and cool technology that allows sort of that peer-to-peer transaction and fundraising and different models, which is what the ICO craze was all about. So as an investor, I wasn't a very qualified investor, so I will just say that up front. I made some good moves. I made some crappy moves. I lost a bit of money on some things, but yes, definitely I read a lot of white papers. So that's kind of helped in terms of trying to figure out the token and governance model for the project, and the idea of using a DAO and managing the funds through a DAO, and then having that connect with the community and the way the community then interacts with the available funding, then how to set the initial token price through a liquidity pool using obviously ETH in the token, or maybe a stable coin as well. So yeah, all of the little things that I've picked up over the years, I put into the white paper, and also learning from the example of Whale Shark, I think was a big influence for me in the initial stage of setting it up for the community, because we share a similar vision in that sense. I don't know, Mom, you want to add anything to that as well?
Yeah, I will add that my experience through the ICOs is that I just get Jason to do all that kind of stuff, because I was really bad. My Chinese horoscope sign is a monkey. So I'm a monkey. I push buttons when I'm not supposed to. I do things very quickly and don't think about what I'm doing. And I lost a lot of money during the ICO craze. I got really depressed because I lost a lot of money during the ICO craze. And well, now I've actually made it all back. But at that point, I was like pretty down about it. And I even went as far as studying stuff and things like that. But I just, my brain doesn't work that way. And I'm trying, I'm getting better, but I'm leaving the financial stuff to Jason. He's better at it than I am.
And that's why this is a great team, right? I mean, you have Jason for that. And I love that you included the Chinese zodiac signs in there as well, because I see that you also have Gemini Rising in your name tag right there. I absolutely love it. But yeah, I guess one question from the community was also, how would you approach traditional artists who don't quite understand crypto, but post tons of great content online?
Now, this is one of the reasons why we're making the film. So that we can inspire artists who aren't in this space to take a closer look at it. Now, I know, like, from since we started making the film and where we are now, NFTs have gone like parabolic, and everybody is aware of them. If not, most people are now, especially like with the huge sales that people made, and the success of other artists coming into the space who weren't previously involved. So using the documentary as a means of getting people in to share, or to share the knowledge from all the various participants as well in the space, I think is very informative. And our target market are actually people outside of the space, so that we can showcase, at least a snapshot of what's been happening at this sort of pivotal point for NFTs, from moving to this sort of underground scene to like more of like mainstream attention, and then eventually, I feel, being incorporated into all facets of our lives in a lot of ways, in various modes, and NFTs are here to stay, I think. And yeah, so I think approaching new artists is really just not trying to hard sell. Like, I know it's exciting and people are excited about being in there, and they become NFT evangelists, and they're like, yeah, you need to be on, you need to NFT everything. I was kind of like that as well before. But just trying to be there and to kind of make sense of the overwhelming amount of information that's out there. Because this new sort of NFT craze is similar to the ICO craze. There are a lot of people coming in who claim to be now experts, who will then do everything for you and take their cut. And it's kind of like, okay, well, that's not the point. So I think it's just kind of helping people make sense of the information, and offering to guide them through, and providing resources that make sense for them.
100%.
And my experience with, I'm still friends with a lot of people I went to school with who are artists, and is that I just find it amazing that none of my friends from art school know anything about this space, are even interested in being in this space. And I just find it so weird, because when you go to art school, most of the people that do go to art school are kind of like on the fringes, or have a different mindset and are ahead of most of society. I mean, I always draw the parallel of, like, in Toronto where we lived, there's always an area where most artists live, and it's usually where it's the cheapest, because artists don't have much money, and they fix it all up and make it really nice and everything. And then the corporations move in, and the artists get driven out because they can't afford to live there anymore. And it's kind of like being one of my worries about this space, is that all of a sudden, somebody like Paris Hilton comes into the space, makes an NFT, sells it for millions of dollars, and like, people are like, oh, well, so there's a lot of sort of parallels between what happens in the real world and what's happening in the space. I mean, one of my questions to the people we had an interview before that was, do you think this is a bubble after what happened with the Beeple sale? Like, do you think this is just a bubble, and now, like, how are other artists ever going to compete with $69 million worth of sales? And what I have to keep reminding myself, and I think the people who are truly in it, not just to make money, but for the experience, is that you find those people, and you get excited about the opportunities to create things with other people, to support other people. I haven't, usually in the real art world, people are like, they don't reveal what they're doing or anything because they want to have the leg up on the other person. But here, everybody is so giving and wanting to help out and stuff like that. Like, those are the true people in this space, not the people that are there to, oh, this is the new fad, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm hoping that it isn't like that parallel where all the artists are moving out and the corporations are coming in, or the influences are coming in, and that kind of thing. So
you can buy your toilet paper NFT on eBay now.
Yeah, it's insane. It's gone parabolic, as you said. And I agree with you, Krista. I think the blockchain, and I've said this before, but the blockchain is really one of the best places for networking. There's always a handful of people that are extremely giving and extremely welcoming into educating and helping people get their start in crypto. And so it's amazing that you guys are passing that knowledge down to the next generation of people that are coming to this space. And I think that's a very concrete vision and purpose of the project, right? I think now more than ever, it's really providing the importance of providing reassurance for people in this space, right? Is that like, okay, you know what? Like, it's not everyone is trying to profit off you. We're actually trying to help. We're trying to drive you to success, and we're trying to help your artist or your creator or your collector career. We're here for you, and we want to build a community that can sustain where you want to go. And so, and it's very interesting because you spoke about creativity. And I remember watching this talk or this panel about psychology of creativity, and it said the same thing, right? It's like corporations come in, and then like there's this creative people creating work, and then corporations come in and drive them out, and then they try to profit off it. But the end goal, or the end thing, what happens next is that artists or the creatives actually just go to a next spot, and they just create again. It's just a cycle. But at the end, I guess now we've really tipped that, like that balance, and see where we are now, right?
I hope so.
Love it. Yeah. I love it because now, like, artists, what I'm seeing, and this is the first time I'm seeing it ever in I think in history, is that rather than the technologists and let's say the people building the tools going ahead and building what they think artists need, or they're now working together with the artists, and the artists have input or even like a stake in these platforms. And that's something that we've never seen before, really, unless of course you're like a Jay-Z and you get your buddies together and you start Tidal, that's something different. But I mean, just on this sort of grassroots level of what's been happening, and the ethos behind blockchain and the collaborative nature, and then the artists coming involved and having all the ideas and a use case for it that makes sense. That's something that is exciting, that music and art and video and film can come in this space and then sort of drive innovation, as well as allow that sort of symbiotic relationship between artist and a developer or technology to kind of find that balance. And I think that's the beauty of where we are and what we're witnessing, and the next generation of like the next Spotify's or the next, Netflix or whatever, are going to be that amalgamation of creative people and technology people, and coming together to provide something that's beneficial for both sides, rather than sort of the traditional exploitive nature of these creative industries. So I'm excited about that.
I also have to say that the technology people are actually, some of them are quite artistic. We have a couple of programmers that are artists in our film that make really amazing art, but they've always been programmers. And because, like anybody's parent would say, don't be an artist because you're never going to make any money. Like you get a good job, except for your parent. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And see there, here we are. So, it's a lot of the technology, a lot of the programmers and stuff are actually really creative people, and they've just never had a chance to be that way. So, that's my 2 cents worth.
I think you both have summarized it perfectly and really hit the nail on the head. But guys, That said, thank you so much for joining this talk. It was an absolutely eye-opening experience having you guys join us, and
thank you.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. But guys, definitely go check out the Flex Theater at 1 p.m. PST and 4 p.m. EST today in Crypto Voxels, and get your access passes to experience the Access Pass launch party. Guys, are there any final words? And if they would like to find you guys, where can they find you?
I want my NFT.com for the film. And then Crypto Voxels is Flix Theater, FLIX. That's the name of our social token. And then, of course, I'm Van Digital on Twitter and everywhere else. And my mom is Gemini Rising 13. And yeah, we're here. I'm always popping into Discords on various channels. And yeah, we appreciate you, Annissa and Whale as well. And shout out to Whale Shark and Jian and everybody on the whole team who've been holding it down over on the Discord. I see you everybody tuned in on the Discord. Appreciate you so much. I've got so much love for the Whale fam. We've been doing a bunch of stuff. You got a shout out. That's right. I see you.
and sorry about not answering all the questions. Jian was asked a lot of questions that we didn't answer everything, but you could always contact us and ask us face to face or camera to camera.
Perfect. Amazing, guys. Well, again, thank you so much and have an amazing rest of the day.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye, Whale fam.
Bye.
Love ya.